go. Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our Israelite Advanced Bible Study night, the 28th of March, 2023. I'll be dealing with a book I just recently acquired. It's called the Complete 54 Books of Apocrypha. We kind of going to deal with that a little bit and read some passages and verses out of it. Okay. With that being said, I want to let everybody know that you can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening, and check out all our videos that we have there. Those videos have a lot of information, and the videos connect dots for you, and they'll take you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament and the Torah being the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening. Welcome to our advanced Bible study. Okay, we're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. We're going to do some current events and a little need to know information. And we'll open it up for some questions and comments. Then we'll go into our topic, which is we'll be dealing with this complete 54 books of the Apocrypha this just recently come out. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and our Creator and all that they're doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come before Thee on this day, bow down with great respect for our Redeemer. Oh Lord, we confess through the prophet. You confess through the prophet Isaiah that You would help us when we see Your hand in the affairs of the world that's going on now. Great in counsel, mighty in works, and for Thine eyes are open upon the ways of men, to give everyone according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. O Lord, behold, Thou hast made the heavens and the earth by Thy great power and stretched out arm, and there is nothing too hard for Thee. And knowing all these things, we eagerly await Thy coming, the day in which Thou wilt break the yoke of our oppressor. Peace be unto You. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna read out of this Apocryphal book. I'm gonna read Psalms of Solomon. I'm gonna find it. Okay. Okay, here we go. In a minute. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna read chapter 1. This is let's see. Psalm of Solomon. Okay, it says, a Psalm of Solomon concerning Jerusalem. When the sinners wax proud with a battering ram, he cast down fortified walls, and You did not restrain. Alien nations ascended Your altar. They trampled it proudly with their sandals, because of the sons of Jerusalem had defiled Thy holy things of the Lord, and had profaned with iniquities the offerings of God. Therefore He said, cast them far from me. We will set at nothing before God. it was utterly dishonored. The sons and the daughters were in grievous captivity. Their necks were sealed. It was branded among the nations. He has done to them according to their sins, for he has left them in the hands of them that prevail. He has turned his face away from pitying them, young and old, and their children together, for they had done evil, one and all, in not listening, and the heavens were angry, and the earth abhorred them, for no man on it had done what they did, and the earth recognized all your righteous judgments, O God. They set the sons of Jerusalem to be mocked. At end return for the harlots in her. Every wayfarer entered in at the full light of day. They made a mockery with their transgressions, as they themselves were frequent to do. In the full light of day, they reviled their iniquity. And the daughters of Jerusalem were defiled in accordance with your judgment, because they had defiled themselves with unnatural intercourse. I am pained in my bowels and in my inward parts for these things, and yet I will justify you, O God, in uprightness of heart. For your judgment is your righteousness, O God, for you have rendered to the sinner according to his deeds. So that was out of the Song of Solomon. I'm gonna have to go deal with that because I'm not understanding what I just read as far as it pertaining to Solomon, because I don't, if I'm not mistaken, it was no Israel hadn't been in no captivity yet. When let me see, yeah, they had been in captivity. Yeah, but I'll check it out. But that was out of the Songs of Solomon that's in this this 54 book, complete book of Apocrypha. Okay. Any comments on that? Let me go to, let me show you the book right quick, and then we'll go. Here we go. So we got the book right here. I just got it. So we're gonna deal with it a little bit tonight. Check it out. If you wanna order it. It's got a lot of interesting stuff in it. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna do some current events.
Did you know that the leading glucose control? To the India-based Make Updates portal, one of the world's largest online informative platforms in terms of views, BRICS countries have officially surpassed the G7 in terms of proportion of global PPP GDP, and this trend is projected to continue. The current BRICS currently accounts for 31.5% of global GDP, while the G7 contributes 30%. The BRICS are predicted to contribute more than 50% of global GDP by 2030, and the proposed enlargement would almost probably accelerate this. When comparing economies in purchasing power parity terms, China's GDP actually surpassed that of the United States in 2015. This will usher in huge global changes, as Chinese President Xi Jinping said in his farewell remarks to Russian President Vladimir Putin as he returned to Beijing following their summit last week. The primary issue is that the BRICS grouping, including possible new members, is very much in the orbit of China and Russia, with the G7, including the EU and the US, losing tractional power among them. Western influence also seems to be fading as the BRICS alliance continues to grow and attract membership pleas from around the globe.
Wow.
Recently, we learned that over 24 nations are showing interest in BRICS, and the numbers seem to be growing. We also know that Bangladesh, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates have all just joined the BRICS New Development Bank, with many more nations on the way. It would seem that the G7 consistent failures on several fronts is costing the West a key strategic position of global dominance as the BRICS Plus alliance continues to garner support and solidarity all over the globe. So is BRICS finally taking over global economic leadership from the G7 alliance? And is Western global influence diminishing in favor of the East? Stay tuned and be kept up to date. Remember that subscribing and activating the bell notification feature will make you stay up to date with business, history, international relations, geopolitics, and world affairs shaping the global climate and our civilization. The G7, which includes the EU and the US, appears to be losing traction in the world, and this is due to a variety of factors, including an overall mistrust of US foreign policy, a desire to ring fence against sanctions by forming an alternative trade bloc to the G7, what is perceived as EU greed in global markets, and long-held animosity against various European legacies from colonial times. It is also expected to usher in the long-debated transition from a unilateral global basis led by the US to a multipolar one led by the main BRICS economies. The G7's recent announcement of an alternative to China's Belt and Road Initiative smells of power politics rather than a genuine desire to assist the developing world. The West appears to engage only in moral posturing. If the debauchery in Iraq and Afghanistan are any indication, it holds no officials accountable and frequently destroys invaded countries. While one would expect some humility from those defeats, the virtue signaling surrounding the Ukraine-Russia conflict, as well as desperate attempts to persuade and at times force nations to choose a side, demonstrate that they are back to their old ways. The West is working hard, but with little success, to change the narrative surrounding the Ukraine-Russia conflict to one of imperialism. Former colonies have not agreed with that assessment. Surprisingly, former colonizers are quick to refer to it as such. Commentators in the Western world are dismissing the struggles of former colonies through this lens.
No.
All of this is happening as the BRICS nations come to the aid of poor nations. The agenda for the BRICS meeting is an example. Former colonies and developing economies around the world do not want to compete for moral high ground. They see the Ukraine-Russia conflict as a bilateral conflict. More than who was right and who was wrong in the European conflict, the economic fallout was a major concern for them. Rising oil and gas prices, double-digit inflation, and a global economy on the verge of recession keep leaders awake at night more than a European conflict. Nonetheless, it was Indonesian President Joko Widodo who initiated Ukraine-Russia peace talks by inviting Vladimir Putin to the G20. Western leaders, on the other hand, have been using the conflict to break Russia. The West's intentions appear to revolve around containing rather than including the developing world. Unless and until the G7 includes permanent members from the global South, it will look exactly like it did 100 years ago, when these same countries were colonizers. Undenied. Expansion strategy and how global power conflict is fueling the BRICS expansion push. In the midst of China-US tensions, the desire to build a larger BRICS has grown stronger than ever. Soon after Chinese President Xi Jinping emphasized the importance of speeding up the BRICS expansion process at the 14th BRICS leaders meeting in late June in Beijing, Iran and Argentina announced that they had submitted formal applications to the BRICS. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Egypt, Indonesia, Nigeria, Senegal, the United Arab Emirates, Thailand, and other guest countries attended the first BRICS foreign ministers meeting in May. All of these positive actions are clear indications that the BRICS expansion is accelerating. The main reasons for BRICS expansion can be attributed to three factors. First, the intense East-West conflict. Second, the deepening of BRICS Plus cooperation. And third, demands from no countries. The confrontation between the East and the West has become increasingly prominent in the new context of the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the intensifying Sino-US competition. As a result, both sides want to expand their network of friends and partners, thereby consolidating their camps. As emerging economies and regional great powers, the BRICS countries have a strong incentive to bring other node countries with key strategic locations and thriving economies into the fold. The more heated the East-West conflict, the greater the impetus for BRICS expansion. The meeting of foreign ministers was the main attraction at the start of BRICS, after which a declaration was issued. Despite the fact that BRICS was later upgraded to a leaders' summit, the practice of issuing declarations following the meeting has continued. It wasn't until 2017, when China successfully hosted the BRICS summit in Xiamen and proposed a BRICS Plus cooperation mechanism, that the connotation of BRICS as something that could extend beyond its 5 members became more enriched and clear. China's donation of reserve funds to the BRICS New Development Bank was another notable event. Following that, BRICS Plus cooperation gradually expanded to include economic and trade exchanges, political security, and people-to-people and cultural exchanges. Following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the BRICS countries established a Vaccine Research and Development Center on March 22, 2022, putting the BRICS Plus cooperation on a solid footing. However, the continued expansion of BRICS Plus cooperation is inextricably linked to the support of regional states, particularly node countries with significant influence and strategic positions in the region.
Okay, so my reason for playing this is that these BRICS countries, which is multiplying, getting larger and larger, is to bypass the G7 and the G20. They're sitting at the top right now, so that should be a sign, and I'm quite sure America and these European nations are shaking in their boots. Comments on that? Okay. Got some need to know information right here. And I'm thinking that this is heading toward the United States. Same situation.
Dani Makadi, hello everyone. Welcome back to another broadcast of the African Diaspora News Channel with me, your host, Maritawana Sitole Imale. And if you're just joining us for the first time, you're most definitely welcome. Please do not hesitate to like, share, subscribe, and of course, hit that notification bell for more content. Now, the United States government has warned its US citizens in South Africa to stockpile 3 days worth of supplies, including non-perishable food, 3 liters of drinking water per day, and medicine and first aid supplies. Now, it also says it expects load shedding to continue beyond the year 2023. The U.S. Embassy issued the security alert shortly after South Africa declared a national state of disaster over its energy crisis. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that his administration had declared the disaster on 9 February. The U.S. government's alert was on 15 February. And I quote, the embassy states that, and I quote, the government of South Africa has declared a state of disaster in response to ongoing power shortages. The country's energy crisis includes sustained load shedding at varying intervals and is expected to extend beyond 2023, close quote. It explained that load shedding results in localized power outages of up to 6 hours or more per day throughout the country. Now, and I quote, these planned electricity outages negatively affect private residences, businesses, municipal lighting, traffic lights, and hotels, the embassy said. Rolling blackouts can also impact water availability and safety, internet connectivity, cell phone network coverage, fuel pumps, as well as fuel availability, residential security features, and the food supply. It also warned that power outages have the potential to increase crime. And I quote again, for example, traffic jams when lights are out provide opportunities for smash and grab crime, and residents can be targeted when lights are out and security systems are not functioning. Further, ongoing conditions have led to an increase in protests and demonstrations, and in some cases, civil unrest throughout the country, close quote. Now, the embassy reminded US citizens traveling or living in South Africa that the country has a level 2 travel advisory, advising them to exercise increased caution due to crime and civil unrest. It also advised that citizens prepare for emergencies. In addition to stockpiling food and water, the embassy offered the following guidance. A, have a communications plan for when there's no or limited power. Landline locations, external cell phone battery, additional charging cords, hard copy of imported numbers, etc. 2, ensure you have necessary medicine, personal hygiene supplies, eyeglasses. 3, memorize family members' phone numbers. 4, identify safe areas around the city. These could include hotels, hospitals, churches, or police stations that may not lose power. And 5, store flashlights, batteries, radio, and basic tools in a safe location where all family members have easy access.
Okay, so what's going on is that this is happening in South Africa. They're putting out alerts all over South Africa that stock up on foods and items and all that. So, like I was saying before, this is part of the new phase of war. I told you how the Silicon Valley Bank is tied to India. India is one of the BRICS countries. So that's America using these tactics to attack these countries by indirectly. And so now South Africa is one of the countries that's in BRICS. And we see right here that now South Africa is sending out alerts telling the people that, to be vigilant and that, this is happening and that's happening. And, understanding, knowing that they're going to be attacked, indirectly, Any comments on that? Okay, so I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna open it up for some questions, comments. Anybody got a question or comments about anything we want to dialogue about? No questions or comments? I don't know. Somebody got some. You gotta mute your mic, I guess. Got some back feedback. Murphy, whoever the Murphy is, you got feedback. You gotta mute your mic. Okay. Yeah. No comments, no questions about nothing? No dialogue with? Okay, let me play this right here. It's got a lot to do with what I've been saying about, the reparations thing and all that. This guy is kind of, in an indirect way, telling you that some of the things that I was saying about China. Let's look at it.
China ends up being the leader of the socialist and progressive world. It's willing, whether it wants the role or not, it is thrust upon you. You are the focus of the imperialist onslaught. You are the main target for the US's attempt to re-establish its hegemony over the world. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, comrades, friends. It's a great pleasure to be here. I've been asked to speak a bit about geopolitical changes on the African continent. It's a huge topic, but I'll try and break it down a bit. So, core message is that Africa, based on its history, based on current trends, and the way geopolitics, global politics is shaping up, really has two possible futures.
One, there's a Pan-Africanist future that allows us to participate in global affairs as a single large continent in a multipolar framework with all the other major blocs and countries of the world. The other possibility for Africa is that we are recolonized. Our old colonial masters in Europe and their new colonial master, the United States, have every intention to resume direct control of our affairs in a way they have not had since the 60s and 70s. Why does this matter? We live in times of conflict. There's a low-key global war underway between the progressive socialist forces of the world that want to establish a new alternative for organizing society. On the other hand, we have the forces of imperialism led by the United States, which seek to destroy any possibility of an alternative. By the sheer facts of history and the logic of struggle, China ends up being the leader of the socialist and progressive world. It's willy-nilly. Whether it wants the role or not, it is thrust upon you. You are the focus of the imperialist onslaught. You are the main target for the US's attempt to re-establish its hegemony over the world. It's a Cold War now, but it could very quickly become a very hot war. The nature of war allows for many accidents and unpredictable consequences. So things could change, even just as a result of the irresponsible statements. For example, in the last few weeks, a number of US generals have been making the predictions that war between the United States and China is possible within the next 24 months. That kind of statement raises tensions and creates sparks on the ground, whether we like it or not. However, is that for us, for the forces that represent civilization, the forces that want humanity to continue to develop and grow, the outcome we need, the best outcome for us, is prevent conflict from heating up. In other words, to win the confrontation without the enemy firing a single shot. That's the best outcome for us, because clearly time is on our side. So we must be working to win the war by mobilizing society. That kind of deterrence requires alliances. It requires that China, Africa, Latin America, the rest of Asia, that we strengthen our alliances around things that we value, around cooperation, and make it clear to our opponents, imperialism, that they cannot prevail, they cannot frighten us into submission. I'm not saying that we don't also prepare for the alternative. We must prepare. The forces we fight against are crazy enough to do something silly. And we must learn to encircle imperialism and to establish the authority of the new world that is possible. So, needless to say, that in this coming and existent confrontation, the socialist forces in Africa stand staunchly with China. We are absolutely clear that in this context, whatever other issues there are, China represents the survival of the human race and the growth of civilization. So,
okay, so you heard it. So China then took over. Everything's on China's shoulder. We're in the midst of a big transformation. America's going away. Okay. Any comments on that? Okay, yeah. So like I said, the title and the topic for the class is the complete 54 book apocrypha. Right, I just received it. It's the 2022 edition. So in case people that don't know about the Apocrypha originally was is when they made the 1611 King James Bible. It had Apocrypha in it. It had additional books in there connected to the King James Bible, and those books it was like 14 books. Let me list some of them. There were okay. It was Tobit, Judith, the editions of the Book of Esther, Wisdom of Solomon. They had some Ecclesiastics, First Baruch, the letter to Jeremiah, the additions to the Book of Daniel, which is the prayer, the prayer of the three Hebrews, Susanna, Baal and the Dragon. You had First and Second Maccabees, First Ezra. You had the prayer of Manasseh, and then you had Psalms 151, following the 150 songs that they had in Greek in the Psalms. They had in the Apocrypha had Psalms 151. And then you had Third Maccabees, Second Ezra, Fourth Maccabees. Those were the books that was in the original Apocrypha that was attached to King James Bible. And so what just recently came out, I'm gonna give you some of these books. I advise you, if you can, to get this book. It's only like $21, $22 on Amazon. Let me read some of these. Now here goes some of the books that's in this 54 book Apocrypha. You got the Apocrypha of Esther, the Apocrypha of Psalms, Apocrypha of Daniel, Tobit, Judith, Wisdom, Sirach, First Baruch, First, Second Maccabees, First Ezra, Second Ezra, Third Maccabees, Fourth Maccabees. You got the prayer of Manasseh, the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. They got the Book of Jubilees in here. First Enoch, Second Enoch, Third Enoch. You got the Book of Giants, Jasher, the Life of Adam and Eve, the Book of Creation, the Testament of Abraham, Testament of Isaac, and the Testament of Jacob. You got the letter of Jacob, and then Jacob saw the ladder. Joseph and Arsenius. This is Joseph's wife, the Egyptian woman, Arsenius. Testament of Job, Testament of Moses, Testament of Solomon, the Songs of Solomon, which I read some out of it earlier. The Lives of the Prophets, or words of Gad or Seer. That's what I'm going to kind of concentrate on. The words of Gad and Seer. And when you understand the significance of Gad and Seer is that it's during the time of David. Gad existed during the time of David, along with Nathan the prophet. So we got the ascension of Isaiah and Second Baruch, Third Baruch, Fourth Baruch. See what else we got? We got the revelation of Abraham, revelation of Elijah, revelation of Zephaniah, the Apocryphon of Ezekiel, the epistles of Aurelius, revelation of Peter, epistle of Barnabas, 3 Corinthians, 1 Clement, 2 Clement, 7 epistles of Ignatius, epistles of Polycarp to the Phoenicians and the martyrdom of Polycarp, epistles of Matthias of Dionysus, whatever it is, the shepherds of Hermas, the odes of peace, and the apology of Oriceles. Okay, so anyway, what I'm gonna do is read out of Joshua, not Joshua, but Job, the seer. And see if we can get anything out of that. It's the words of God this here is what I'm be reading. And kind of let's see what's going on with this. Okay, got 14 chapters in here. I'm gonna start reading out of chapter 1, and it says, okay, chapter 1 of Gad the seer. It says, in the 31st year of King David reign in Jerusalem, which is in the 38th year of David's reign, the word of the Lord came unto Gad the seer in the month of Iyar, near the stream of the Kidron Valley, saying, thus said the Lord, go and be courageous and stand in the midst of the stream and cry with a loud voice, tarry and hasten, tarry and hasten, tarry and hasten, for there is still a vision for the son of Jesse. And during the cry, face the eastern gate on the east side of the city and stretch forth your hands toward heaven. And I did exactly what I had been commanded to do. And it came to pass when I finished crying out, I opened my ears and saw a yoke of oxen led by a donkey and a camel coming up from the brook of Kidron, the donkey on the right side of the yoke, and the camel on the left. And a great voice like a roll of thunder was following them, crying with a bitter voice, seer, seer, seer. These are 4 mixtures that confuse the people of the Lord. For the impure and the pure have been mixed. And then impurities took control over purity. A mixture from seer, Edom, to rule over them, to increase power over and betray a righteous doer, to destroy holiness, to crown wickedness, to set up impure matters in the guise of purity. And after the voice, a great shaking occurred that shook over the impurities and blew the donkey and the camel into the moon with a stormy wind. And the moon was open and looked like a bow, a semicircle. And both her points reached toward the ground. And behold, the sun came out of heaven in the shape of a man with a crown on his head, carrying a lamb over his shoulder, over his right shoulder, despised and rejected. And on the crown on his head, 3 shepherds are seen, shackled with 12 shackles. And these shackles were of gold, plated with silver, and the voice of the Lamb was heard, great and dreadful, like the voice of a lion roaring over his prey. Woe to me, and woe to me, woe to me. My image has been diminished. My refuge has been lost. My lot and destiny has turned me over my spoilers, and I was defiled unto evening by the touch of impurities. And it came to pass when the voice of the Lamb ceased speaking, behold, a man dressed in linen came with 3 vine branches and 12 palms in his hand. And he took the lamb from the hand of the son and put the crown on his head and the vine branches and the palms on his heart. And the man dressed in linen cried like a ram's horn, saying, what are you doing here in purity? And how did you get here in purity? That you have carved yourself a place to combine purity with my covenant that I have set with the vine branches and palms. And I heard the lamb's shepherd saying, there is a place with me for the pure, but not for the impure. For I am a holy God, and I do not want the impure. I only want the pure. Even though I created them both, and my eyes are equal on both them, but there is an advantage to the abundance of purity over the abundance of impurity. Just like there is an advantage of a man over shadow, for the shadow does not exist without a man, and only by man's existence is the shadow given to the tired and exhausted. This applies in the same way to the pure and the impure, for all gates of intelligence are turned around since the death of 8 branches of a vine, as is found in words of righteousness in the true scroll. But because of the wandering of the sheep, their rest and division and intelligence is stopped up until I do greatly in keeping grace. I saw the impurity was driven from the moon and was given over to the consuming wrath, ground into fine dust and blown away by the daily wind. And the day burned as a furnace to remove impurities and to erase the transgressions. And the Lamb was put on the moon forever and ever. And the Lamb took from the pure the impurities that had been mixed with them and brought in the peace offerings on the altar before the God Almighty, the zealous Lord of hosts. And I heard those singing the song of the Lamb, saying, I will give thanks to you, O Lord, for though you were angry with me, you forgave. For the Lord is my strength, the song, and he became my redeemer. I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. He has thrown the horse and the rider into the sea of reeds. Arise, intelligence, arise, power, arise, kingship, arise, majesty and glory. Okay. My servant David, while he is reading these words from the scroll of the covenant, and yet for all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them, neither will I abhor them to utterly destroy them or to break my covenant with them. For I am the Lord their God, and you will tell him about the scene you have just seen, and when he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. And it came to pass, when I came to the house of David, the man of God, I found him as one dressed in linen and had said, and I told him all my vision. Then David spake the words of this song to the Lord, saying, I love you, O Lord, my strength. And to me he said, the Lord has blessed you and has removed his covenant from you, for he is true. His words is true, and his seal is true. So that was chapter 1. These are the words of the seal. Anybody got comments on that? My objective is to show you how, it's a way to rightly divide when these people is hoodwinking the Most High's word, and when he's not. You can tell the way it comes off. Because our forefathers got a certain way of describing things and writing stuff down. You can tell when it don't sound right. So I'm in chapter 2. After these 2 things, I had a vision from God saying, set your face eastward, northward, southward, and westward, and whistle your mouth as a bird whistles to his youth, and say, 4 corners of the earth, listen to the words of the Lord. Thus says the Lord, who sits and dwells over the cherubim. Give, take out, my seed that I have sown in you, for the time for the seed that's come. For yet a little while I will collect my seed on my threshing floor, and the threshing floor will be holy, and impure seed will not be found there. Prior to those days, my seeds will mix with lentil and barley and fetches and beans and gourds. And in the end of days, the soil will be true, and the seed will be true. And from the seed, all the land will be blessed. Be joyful and glad, the remnant of Judah Okay. What's up, man?
Hey,
Say,
what's up? Shalom.
say in the end of days, the soil will be true, the seed will be true, and from the seed, all the land will be blessed. Be joyful and glad, the remnant of Judah and the rejected of Israel, for salvation is with the Lord. As you will be cursed and blasphemy to all the families of the earth, so will you be a blessing and grace forever. At that time, no curse or unholy people will be found among you, for everyone will join you in the covenant, the law, the testimony, the statutes, the ordinances. You and they will have one God, one covenant, one law, one language, for all will speak in the language of the Hebrew, the holy language. Blessed are you, O Israel, who is like to you, a people saved by the Lord, for he will go before you to fight your wars with your enemies. Woe to you, O Edom, that sits in the land of Kittim in the north of the sea, for your destroyers will emerge from a terrible nation. They will not even leave you a remnant, for you have said, I sit on high, and I alone have a covenant with God, as the God of gods. For the Lord chose me instead of his holy people, for he abhorred them, and his former people, despised and rejected, do not truly know the Lord, because they did not know his image, the Son. We are truly wise and intelligent. We know the Lord and his law. We know his images and his presence. But thus said the Lord, because you rose up in pride to brag about the God of gods, know that you will perish in your conceitedness. But why would you put confidence in man whose life is like a vapor, which begins in the morning and is gone by noonday, placing him to sit beside God? For it is not you whom I knew formerly. And where is the bill of divorce of my people that you said would be a prey? Show it to me. The corpses will fall among the people, my people. O zealous Lord, come out of your place and smite Edom, consume them. Come to Zarephath, and come to Seraphat, come to Ashkenazi, come to Germania. They will come and fall in the lowest pits, in destruction and in the shadow of death. For your mouth uh, will fail you, and no one will help you. At the end of days, Michael, the great prince, will stand up in war like a whirlwind against Samuel, the prince of the Lord, and it will be eaten up, for the Lord has spoken it. In the end of days, the robbed will be in righteousness. Your God is your Savior, O Israel. With him you will be saved, for he is a merciful God. He will not abandon you, for you will keep on doing all that I command you in the law of my servant Moses. Okay, so that was chapter 2. Any comments? Okay, I'm gonna read chapter 3. We're gonna do an hour. Okay, chapter 3. And when the feast of Passover came on the 15th of the first month, a Moabite shepherd came to David and talked with him, saying, My Lord, the king, you have known that I, your servant, have been loyal to Israel from my youth. Now take me away from dwelling among uncircumcised people and circumcise the flesh of my foreskin to take away my reproach, so that I can sit among your people. And David said, The Lord does not want your people. And he commanded, An Ammonite or a Moabite will not enter into the assembly of the Lord forever. And we cannot seek your peace nor your prosperity. But how can I help you today? The servant answered, Is it not true that Ruth was our people, and you are one of her children and descendants. And the Lord has chosen you and your descendants forever. Then he said, you have given a convincing argument. Stand here with me and ask from the mouth of the Lord. And David asked the Lord about the statement of the Moabite servant. David said, O Lord of hosts, teach me wondrous things out of your law, so that I may know how to rule rule for this servant, and what should be done with him. And the Lord said to Nathan the prophet, go to my servant David, tell him the message that I tell you. And Nathan went to David to his chambers, saying, this is what the Lord of hosts says. I have heard your prayer. So tell the Moabite, you are a Moabite man, not a Moabite woman. For I never said a Moabite woman or a Ammonite woman, because their women and daughters belong to the Lord. However, you are cursed by the Lord and forbidden to enter the Lord's assembly. And when the Moabite heard the message of the Lord, he cried out and exclaimed, I am forbidden from entering into the assembly of the Lord. And the king took him and appointed him a shepherd among David's shepherds. And he was there until the 30th year of the reign of King Solomon. Then he died. And he had a daughter whose name was Sapphira. She had a beautiful form and was very fair to look on. King Solomon took her to be his concubine, and she found grace and favor in his sight more than all the other concubines. And she became the chief of the concubines resident. And this became the statute in Israel forever. Okay? Any comments? Okay, I'll read chapter 4. In those days, a man from Bethlehem, the city of David, went to Jerusalem to pay a vow, which he had vowed to the Lord. And his name was Zabad, the Porite, and he was of the family of the Prezrites. Zabad's father was very sick, even to the point of death. So Zabad vowed, and when the Lord vowed that when the Lord heals my father of his sickness, I will weigh out 2 talents of silver and give them to the house of the Lord in the hands of King David. And it came to pass when he was at the house of the shepherd along the way, he lost the pouch with the money in it, and he was upset. And he came to the city of Jerusalem, to the inner city, and he wrote on the gates these words: anyone finds a lost pouch with 2 talents of silver and brings it to me, I will give him a talent of silver as a reward. After a while, a man from the tribe of Dan came and had in his hand the pouch with the silver talents that he found along the way, and he gave it to the owner of the pouch. He gave it to the owner of the pouch. And the Danite said to Zeb, give me the talent of silver you promised. And Zebab said, no, there were actually 3 talents in my pouch, and you have already stolen 1 talent and mistakenly wrote down the wrong number. So I mistakenly wrote down the wrong number. So both of them stood before the king, and the king said to Zebab, swear to me by the Lord that you truly have 3 talents of silver in your pouch. Zebab swore by the Lord, and the king continued, saying to the Danite, swear to me by the Lord that you only found 2 talents of silver in the pouch. And he swore to him by the Lord. And David said to Zebad, give the pouch with the talents back to the Danite, because this is his money that the Lord have given to him by chance. Now go and write on the city gates, whoever finds the pouch with 3 talents should bring it to me, because this is not your pouch. And David took the pouch with the talents of silver from the hands of Zobad and gave it to the Danite. And the Danite bowed his head and prostrated himself to the earth and said, Long live my Lord, King David, forever. And all Israel heard of this judgment, and they marveled over David and were overjoyed because they saw that he was full of the wisdom of God. Okay, that was chapter 4. Let me stop right there. Any comments on that? Anybody get anything out of that? Chapter 4? Okay, so I guess I can shine a light on it. So, if you notice that chapter, or the situation with Bathsheba, when the two women came, one they had a live child and one had a dead child. And so the one woman had a stillborn baby, and then when she see that some of her baby was stillborn, she went and swapped it out with the other lady that had, the other lady that had her baby was born, good. So that night while the lady was asleep, she swapped the babies, and she took the live baby and put the stillborn baby in her bosom. So the next morning she woke up and seen her baby was, dead. So a big thing broke out with it. So they ended up taking it to Solomon. And so the way Solomon decided who was telling the lie and who was telling the truth was he told his guard to take the baby and cut the baby in half. So the real mother said, no, don't cut it in half, let her have it. But the lady that had the wicked lady said that cut him in half. So Solomon knew then who was the real mother and who was not. And so we see the same, where Solomon got that wisdom from. So we see what David did right here in this situation with the pouch. The guy was on his way to Jerusalem to make a vow, and he lost his pouch. So he wrote on the gate coming into the city that anybody find a pouch with 3 talents of silver in it, with 2 talents of silver in it, he'll reward them with 1. So a guy came with a pouch with 2 talents of silver in it, and this guy said, he gave it to the guy, and the guy asked him, where's his reward? And the guy said, you already got the reward because I had 3 talents in there. So David looking at it and saw it and said that wasn't the same pouch, because that guy had 3 talents of silver in his pouch. That wasn't the same pouch. That's another pouch. So he said that God had gave the guy that to allow the guy to find the pouch by chance. So he told the guy to give it back to him because it's his money, because God gave it to him by chance. Go back to the gate and write on the gate, anybody find the pouch with 3 coins in it. So David rightly divided. But anyway, so we see right there that we see now they don't want, they don't want to give David no credit whatsoever. That's why that's not in the scriptures. When you see this kind of stuff right here, you realize that Solomon got his wisdom from. And then not only Solomon, but Hezekiah, Josiah, Jehoshaphat, all those righteous kings. That righteousness is coming from David, but they don't want you to know that. So, with that being said, like I said, you want to. I'm still reading out of it. One of the things that helped me that I saw in there was our forefathers. I mean, the so-called apostles and the writings like First Clement and all that. Those are supposed to be fathers, our forefathers. I mean, our the fathers of Christianity. But you can see when you read those books and even the names, those being the Greeks, Europeans, they're not they're not Israelites. And you can pretty much see, you know, what they were doing, how they was hoodwinking the scripture, and you know, bringing in that Christianity, which is, like I said, it's a mixture of paganism, the Egyptian Book of Dead tied with our records. And they just mixed it all up. That's where Christianity comes from. Okay. Any comments? Any comments or questions? Anybody got anything they want to talk about before we go? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So what we're gonna do tomorrow? We're not getting that much of a response from them. We're just gonna make it. You know, anybody that we send a link out, and anybody that want to come in on the link, they come in. You know, we're just gonna we'll do some current events, Q&A, and pretty much a little bit of everything on Wednesdays. And like I said, anybody that wanna, we send a link out and you wanna come in, you come in until we get you know, situated with these men. Okay, so I'll see everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And say shalom.
Shalom.
A large part of the reason that we are here is to communicate this and